And all throughout these philosophies and theologies, there's always this idea of cause and effect. We hear it thread through so many different religions, and Jesus teaches this, about it all the time. And in fact, there's a section in the Bible where he literally lays out the idea of cause and effect. And he says, "Have faith in God. I assure you that whosoever tells this hill to get up and throw itself into the sea and does not doubt in his heart but believes that what he says will happen, it will be done for him. For this reason I tell you, when you pray and ask for something, believe that you have received it and you will be given whatever you ask for." So that's pretty clear. He's saying, think about that thing. If you're thinking about that thing you're asking for, don't ask from a place of wanting it. Ask from a place of knowing it's done. So I spoke with a few people before service, that thing that you want, know it's done. Envision and embody the experience of it already being done, of the transition already happening, of the house already selling, of the guy already kissing you, of the shoes already being paid off. I feel like expensive shoes like me. So embody that. Feel your way into it. So that we all know. That's Science of Mind 101. We get it. And we get when we get off kilter with it, when we decide, that we don't want to work this law of attraction, that we'd rather have it be done unto us as we believe and go with the flow of God and completely trust God. So we get how we can use that. But there's another part of this section that Jesus talks about, where it's kind of like when your mom was making you a smoothie, and she's like, "This smoothie's going to be so great, you can get this smoothie," and then when you turn around, she slips all these vegetables into it. So Jesus does this in this section, and he says, just think about what you want, move towards it with complete confidence, know that you're going to move the mountains. And he says, "And when you stand in prayer, forgive anything you may have against anyone." It's that tricked us. It says, for your Father in heaven will forgive the wrongs you have done as you do this. And that right there is cause and effect. You can't get what you don't give. You have to be able to really not walk to God with a knife in your brother's back, and to clear it all the way and to come naked. So the one idea here is consistency, that we want to work on our consistency to really know that this is done unto us as we believe. And the other thing is we want to clear all the blocks. If God's going to move the mountains for us, we got to be willing to at least move the mountains in our own hearts. All of those blocks and those judgments that are preventing love from flowing. This idea is it's so empowering because it shows us not only where we are a possibility, but also a responsibility. So it tells us our possibility is that we can manifest like hot knives through butter, but we also have a responsibility to not cause any blocks in the flow, to not get twisted in any way so that this good can come to us effortlessly. In the holy definition of cause and effect, in the way that we use it in the second kingdom of consciousness, where we say, "My will be done," and we say, "I'm going to make this happen," that's cause and effect, and it will work for you. But you might get a hangover along with what you want. But in the true idea of cause and effect, God is always first cause. And in A Course in Miracles, it always tells us that God is first cause. And that we can trust that if God is first cause, and you have that relationship with God that's good and beautiful and holy, that everything that streams from that relationship with God will be also good and beautiful and holy. So you don't have to effort so much. All we get to do is, focus on a relationship with this divine love and allow it to move the mountains for us and continue to get out of the way. But the thing is, for us, for me, we get really antsy. We're like, "Oh, it can't be that easy." We don't trust God. And we get impatient. And we're not really comfortable with the plan of God. Because what if God doesn't really know our greatest good? And so it seems like and God's timing is not our timing. I think that's one of the major things, is it's not our timing, And so we sit in the dining room with our forks and knives, and we're like, "We're hungry, give us our food!" You know what I mean? And we're screaming at God in the kitchen. She's like, "What?" She's majestic. She's royal. She rolls at her pace. She has no reason to rush. She's like, "You don't get it. The best sauce is hunger. And this time between, you're putting in your order and me delivering it to you, it's like the best foreplay that I could offer you. That's the sweetness of the journey. Like, you don't want to just get to it and get to it and get to it and get to it. Like, it's that experience of being in the desire of it that's so sweet. And watching it gently and organically unfold. It's like, we never think about a rose blooming like, when are you going to do this? When are you going to get this done? Like, this is ridiculous. You're taking like so long. You know what I mean? We never say that to a rose. And you know, even with winter. You know, winter this year has been like that friend that you talk to on the phone. And you're like, oh, Winter, you're awesome, blah, 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 blah. And you're like about to hang up, and she's like, wait, I gotta tell you one more thing. And it's like, okay, but like, it's kind of like, you know, February, I'm kind of done talking to you. She's like, wait, one more thing. And it's April, one more thing. And it's May, one more thing. And it's like, but you kind of love talking to her, but we don't always think about that with winter. We're like, Winter, we're done. You know, we're done speaking. We want you to be done. You know, so it's like the timing of nature. We're so lucky that we live in a place that has these seasons, because they are such classrooms for us. Because we really get to see the organic time of God. You know, we really get to see how Mother Nature, like God, is 99% foreplay. And then it's boom! You know what I mean? The Big Bang. Not bad. Will's like... You know it's true though, you know what I mean? It's like we've lost the art of savoring each other and savoring things, and that really, that's when the slowing down and the, you know, appreciation and the paying attention, that's when we get to see the texture of the divine. And that, I mean, we're rushing through life at such a rapid pace that we're missing all the good parts. So this is what we get to do. We get to say, you know, I'm going to slow down. We're going to say that God is large and in charge. Her timing is perfect. And it does require us to surrender and release our judgments and withhold our, you know, impatience. And yeah, good luck with that, because, you know, it's not an easy thing to do. We have heard, you know, that God has created everything and comes to everything in a very audacious way. And we get to see the beauty of God unfold when we're willing to slow down. And the one thing that God never does, and I think it's a really audacious thing, and Mother Nature doesn't do it either, they don't ask our opinion. They never say like, look what I did. Because you know what would happen if they did? We without being asked, we blanket them with our opinion. Well, you shouldn't be here, Winter. You know, this is April. You're already stupid. Like we know how it's supposed to go. So, like, imagine if you were God and you created this world and all of this amazing people in it, and invited all of your dearest friends over to your art exhibit, and then all of your dearest friends came over and were like, eh. All right. Okay. You know what I mean? And that's what we do with God. Like, she puts herself on display for us, and we're like, I don't know. Is that it? So why do we do that? Because we're running from an old thought, an old idea. We want to open up to really come with beginner eyes and really come with the expectancy of audaciousness in the details of it all. It's funny, but it's kind of sad that we tell God, you know, how late she is and how broken her children are. I mean, can you imagine doing that to your best friend? Of like going over your friend's house and being like, that guy, he's such a liar, he's got a problem. You know what I mean? Or this guy, you know, he's always trying to cheat people. You know, can you imagine God just like standing there as we criticize her artwork? It's kind of, you know, if it makes you feel like I don't want to do that, then good. Don't do that anymore. Always seek to find the beauty and the perfection in everything that is, because it's actually there. You know, we could find the beauty in April snow. It's actually there. And those of you who have found it today were like, that was beautiful. So to experience that true peace, we get to move at the pace of peace. And the optimal idea, as we've said before, is to get into the passenger seat with God, buckle up, and let God take you where she wants to take you. And we are meaning maker-uppers. So we give everything all the meaning it has for us, and we're also addicted to our own opinions. And so it's hard for us to give that up. But that is also one of the blocks to having those mountains being moved on your behalf, is that we keep sort of having this agitation. And agitation prevents out-picturing. It keeps it confused, you know? So we want to begin to see if we can give that up. And the thing that we want to give up, which is the hardest thing to give up, is thinking. I know. Thinking is exhausting us. Because because all of our thinking. Yeah. You know why? Because for the most part, we're not thinking the thoughts of God. We're thinking thoughts of fear, or we're thinking thoughts of want, or worry, or war. That's the daily diet of the thought plan. If we want to live on thoughts, want, worry, and fear. And so the optimal idea is to relinquish thoughts. Thoughts actually separate us from the experience of seeing that when we really think of cause and effect is one thing. It's not two. So we could say God is the snow. And God is the rose. And God is the waiting period. And I get to experience this with God. And I get to wait on God instead of demanding that God waits on me. And we had this amazing class last night, I think it was just last night, where we had a group of women coming to talk about their relationship with their mom. It was a story workshop. And we got to see how we had these relationships with our mom as younger kids. And we were like, our moms did this and our moms did that, and they got us to the bus stop and they made the lunches, and sometimes they were really crabby. Sometimes they were really this and that, but they were our moms. And if we got to that point, then we were still in that sort of immature relationship with our moms. But some of us have had the privilege of jumping the fence, where suddenly we get to mom the mom. And I got to hear from other women who were like, I lavished my mom when I got the chance. Like, I let her know all of the things that she did for me. I got to repay that to her. Like, imagine if we had that relationship with God, where instead of being like, God, wipe my ass, God. Oh my God, I just said that. We want to be like, no, God, I got this. Like, I can show up for you. I'm not going to lavish you with how audacious I am in your world through the extension of your love through me. And I'm not going to be able to do that through my own thinking. Like, I got to let go and get in alignment with what is right here. I'm not a human thinking. I'm not a human doing. I'm a human being. I get to be in this audacious experience. That's all you want me to do, is to be in this experience with you. And I'm still messing that up. So A Course in Miracles in this section, Chapter 2, Section 7 says, you may complain about fear, but nevertheless you persist in making yourself fearful. You make yourself fearful. I've already indicated that you cannot ask me to release you from fear. So this is Jesus speaking to us. I know it does not exist, but you don't. I think it's a really interesting piece. He goes on to say, and if I intervene between your thoughts and their results, your cause and the effect, I would be tampering with a basic law of cause and effect, the most fundamental law that there is. And I would hardly help you if I depreciated your power in your own thinking. This would be direct opposite of what the Course seeks to teach. So it's much more helpful to remind you that you do not guard your thoughts carefully enough. I think we can all agree to that. We just don't guard our thoughts carefully enough. The other night, I got a phone call at 3:30 in the morning. And it was Elizabeth Keats. And I pick up the phone, I'm like, Elizabeth Keats, this can't be a booty call. Or maybe. So my husband's like, what's going on? And I'm like, Elizabeth Keats is calling. He's like, well, all right, everything's fine, go back to bed. And I'm like, it's not. Everything's not fine. Elizabeth has fallen down, she's being robbed, something hideous is happening, and she has called me, and I have to take care of this, right? This is where my thoughts went. My husband, he doesn't think as much as I do. Oh my God, I don't think anyone thinks as much as I do. So I leave the bedroom, I go into my daughter's bedroom, and I sit there, and I'm still on the phone with Elizabeth. I'm like, Elizabeth, are you okay? Elizabeth? And I hear her sighing, and then I hear a man's voice, and I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, either something's happening or something's happening. But I don't know that Elizabeth has a boyfriend, so I'm thinking something could be happening, like something bad could be happening. And I'm thinking, I need to call the police, and do I have her address? I'm not kidding, I went all the way there. This is where I go. So I look out the window of my daughter's room, and I have this epiphany, this memory, because I see the beauty of the night, and I remembered once when I was afraid of the night. And I looked out this time, and I was like, God, that night is so beautiful. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't live in a fearful world. I get to choose my thoughts. I get to be a guard of my own thoughts. I get to remember that everything's okay right here, and remember it for my sister. And if anything is happening, that she's qualified, that she's preordained for this moment, that everything is well, that I live in the thoughts of God. And I picked the phone back up just to say, Elizabeth, one more time. And all of a sudden I hear, happiness is your function. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, did I just say happiness is your function? And then it's going on about how happiness is my function. I'm like, is she listening to A Course in Miracles? And that's what she was doing at 3:30 in the morning. She was listening to A Course in Miracles. And I was like, everything is well. Hung that bitch up.
Which is what I said to do right away.
I know, Will. You're always right.
Got it on tape.
So that's just an application of where we could go if we run with fear. And then if we could really shift our thoughts into thinking, what does it look like when God says all is well? Like, what does that really look like? And we're not going to experience it unless we take the opportunities that come to us and drag us into the dark night of the soul and say, wait, right here I'm going to practice my course principles. What Elizabeth said, I don't know. Did I dial you or did you dial me? I think God dialed us. I think it was like a perfect classroom that God dialed us at 3:30 in the morning so I could pay attention to my own thoughts. So Jesus says, like, I'm not going to intercede with you in your thoughts. Like, you got this. He trusts us. He says, this and greater things can you do. I didn't have to walk around the world in fear or anything. I didn't even fear my own crucifixion. Like, you can walk through that with ease and with grace. There are two ways to live your life, according to Albert Einstein. One is though everything is a miracle, and the other is though nothing is a miracle. And so we get to look out our own windows. Do we see a safe world? Or do we see a scary world? That's our filter. That's the film that we're looking at. It's not the world, it's what we choose to look at. And can you change the world you live in by changing your thoughts? Yes, you can. Not only can you, but you must. You're the ones to do it. Like, you're the ones to embody that and to show up as happy calling cards. To recognize the world is a good and beautiful and holy place. And that you do get to accept that truth 100%. And as you do get to accept that truth 100%, you'll be given miracles. You'll be reminded through weird phone calls that happiness is your function. Sometimes we think, when we go about our little ways, we think, well, we think our purpose is bigger or more complex. That we don't want to dabble in the mundane of the moment, of the call that comes from a friend, or the little things. We want to get to the bigger things, but the little things are the bigger things if we're willing to really be with them. So our purpose is simple. It's to be love in action at all times. Many times I hear people say, I'm down, I'm broke, I'm confused, I need help, I don't know my purpose, and even if I did, I don't know how to get there. And that's a song of the ego. That's just a song. We could stop singing that song if we want to. We could sing the opposite. Sometimes it's hard to sing the opposite because sometimes when you sing the opposite, like, I'm all that in a bag of chips, I'm spitting truth here this morning, I'm on fucking fire. Like, somebody might say, who are you? And then you gotta say, oh, you don't recognize me because I've been playing that old role. And you want me to show up in that old world, but I'm accepting the truth of my being. And so it might be a little agitating for you to handle that, but I'm okay to stay in the truth and the uncomfortableness of this moment, because I'm looking for a change beyond what I know so far. I'm looking for God's definition here, and God has said I'm good and beautiful and holy, and actually knows that for you. So if my bigness irritates and agitates you, then I'm just polishing your pearls. So... I can say that. So the purpose is being love in action. To be love in action requires very little thought. The only inspiration that you need is to know, I'm here to be love in action. You don't have to think about that. You really don't have to think about that. All you need to do is stay present. If we're so addicted to our thoughts, which many people are, then we get to watch our thoughts that come up. But for the most part, we could just relinquish our thoughts. It's much more helpful to be reminded that you do not guard your thoughts. So that's what he's saying to us. What you're feeding your mind produces love or fear. Are you watching TV? Are you dabbling in broken stories? Are you filling yourself with junk food thoughts about people, places, and things, and gossip? Or are you saying, no, I'm better than that, you're better than that, I'm only willing to feed my thoughts with the optimal idea? That's a big one. Because so many people are immersed in the stories of scarcity and stagnation. But that's not your most optimal space of hanging out. You don't want to hang out there. So is your tribe co-signing your higher truth or your brokenness? And are you co-signing someone else's higher truth or their brokenness? Are you sitting around listening to other people kvetch about their situation, or are you gently excusing yourself or raising the vibe of the conversation? So miracle workers, it says in this section, miracle working entails a full realization of the power of thought in order to avoid miscreation. The miracle worker must have genuine respect for true cause and effect as a necessary condition for a miracle to occur. Both miracles and fear come from thought. One is a thought of love, the other is a thought of fear. If you're not free to choose one, you would not be free to choose the other. By choosing the miracle, you reject fear, if only temporary. You have been fearful of everyone and everything. You're even afraid of God and me and of yourself. You've misperceived or miscreated us and believed in what you have made. You would not have done this if you were not afraid of your own thoughts. Yeah. The fearful must miscreate because they misperceive creation. When you miscreate, you're in pain. So that's the good news. Pain will show us right away that we have a miscreation. We can go back to that place that we have pain and say, tell me more. What have I gotten wrong here? So that I can experience freedom. It has already been said that you believe you cannot control fear because you yourself made it, and your belief in it seems to render you out of control. So I can't help it, fear's just happening. But it says, yet, any attempt to resolve that error through attempting to master fear is useless. So don't work with your fear. It says, instead, true resolution rests entirely on the mastery of love. Nothing and everything cannot coexist. To believe one is to deny the other. So the mastery of love. So there's this guy, I'm going to end with a story. There's this guy, Jerry Jampolsky. You know, he's written many books. And he's a doctor, and he is, of course, a miracles teacher. And he's done such great works. I think he even wrote a book, Mastery of Love. And he was working with the Course in Miracles principles, and he had the opportunity to work with children. And so he created this organization. It was called the Center for Attitudinal Healing. And it was based, its purpose was to support children who have had really traumatic experiences. So he's working with these children who have had really traumatic experiences. And he gets a call from a mom. She's beside herself. She says, my kid, he got run over by a tractor. He's blind, he's paralyzed. He can use his right arm, but he's so depressed. And he's in the hospital. I don't know how to help him. I can't even reach him. So Jerry feels like, I gotta go talk to her. So he drives to his hospital, and he starts to tell her and her son about Lesson 108 in A Course in Miracles, to give and receive are one and the same. What does this mean for them? I mean, they're at the bottom. You know, like what does she have to give? And how can this help her out? But she's picking up on some of the stuff he's laying down. She's like, okay, you know, you're my final straw. I've called everybody. You came to see me. To give and to receive are one and the same. How can I master love here? How can I give love here? So he leaves and she stands at her son's bedside and she's like, how can I help my son give love here? He's got nothing to give. And she is aware of this kid 5 beds over who's crying. It's a 2-year-old. And this kid's been unconsolable for many days. So she gets this inspiration to go over to the kid, this little baby, 2 years old, and she picks up the child. And then she takes the child over to her son, who can't move. And she places the child face down on his chest. And at first he goes, doesn't know what's happening. And then, with his one good arm, he consoles the child. And the child stops crying after a while. And he starts smiling. And the doctors come in, the nurses come in, and they go, oh my gosh, what a magnificent thing that we had this right under our noses and we didn't see that this was possible. This is mastery of love. And they begin to implement a program that helps children help children in this hospital. And so for me, for us, we get to say today that we have so much, that we're not paralyzed, that we are capable, that we are so capable. And no matter what you think of your situation right now, you have so much to give. You have so many ways that you're called into being actions of love and activating love in your life. And as you do that, you will spread miracles beyond what you can even know to ask for. That's the true use of cause and effect. You want to be the cause of the effect of love in the world. That's what you came for, and that's the word.